It's 7 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. My name is Church Hines. I'm the chair of the board for the Vermont State Colleges System. This is a special meeting of the board, duly warned for 7 in the evening on May 6, 2020. We do anticipate that this evening will be significantly shorter than some of our other evening meetings have been recently. So people don't have to anticipate a late night. We have a fairly abbreviated agenda. I don't know how long it will take to go through each of the items, but we are scheduling another full meeting at 1 in the afternoon on Monday. So there will be a significant amount of work to be done at that meeting, and we'll foreshadow that a little bit this evening as well. I would ask, Yasmin, do you have anything to make us aware of in terms of our technology this evening?
Just that we will be doing the same procedures as in the past for people who, during the public comment period at the end. And otherwise, I think just general good practices for people to mute themselves while they, if you're not speaking, it just helps with the audio a little bit.
Okay. Jen Porrier, are you available for a roll call, please?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair. I do believe, just for your information, we do not have Lynn Dickinson on the call yet, just to let you know. But I will start a roll call right now.
Okay,
Janet Bombardier. Okay, Janet Bombardier.
Here.
Thank you. Megan Kluver.
Here.
I hear you. Lynn, are you on yet? I don't see you. Peg Flory.
Here.
Thank you. Dylan Giambattista.
Here.
Thank you. Izzy Gogarty.
Here.
Thank you. Adam Grinold.
Adam's here.
Thank you. Bill Lippert.
I'm here.
Thank you. Karen Luno.
Here.
Thank you. Jim Masland.
Here.
Thank you. Linda Milne.
I'm here, Jen.
I
Thank
saw
you.
Linda, yeah.
Mike Pichak.
Hi, Jen. I'm here.
Thank you. David Silverman.
Here.
Thank you. And Lynn, did I just see you come on? Are you here? Yep. Lynn, you're here, right? Yes, Lynn is here.
Here.
Okay. The family is gathered, and I'm sure that everyone would reflect the sentiment, Karen, knowing that you have lost your mom, and we're all right there beside you in Zoom land, but you know, most of us only get one mom, and it's an unavoidable loss, and our hearts are with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Chancellor Zadatni, this is your inaugural meeting as our interim chancellor. Welcome, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much. So it's been a very busy 7 days. It's only been 7 days. It feels a bit longer than that, given all the things that have been happening. So primarily, the legislature has really been the main focus, and we've been having some success there. We had a wonderful statement from Mitzi Johnson and from Tim Ash that came out over the weekend, advising that we would be up and running in the fall at all the campuses, including Johnson, Linden, and Randolph. We sent out a press release on Monday to everyone regarding that. I have meetings scheduled tomorrow with a number of legislators, and things seem to be moving well in the State House, and I'm sure our legislative trustees could probably fill us in more if they wanted to do on that. But basically, we're working with the legislature right now. We're responding to information that they're seeking. One of the things they want to have is to have an outside person come in and do a financial assessment. And my understanding is an announcement about that will be made shortly. They're also looking for information from the colleges, and the colleges themselves are working we need a bit more clarity, but they're working to find out what it is that the legislature wants from them. So the signs seem to be encouraging from the State House. We're cautiously optimistic. We'll do what we can to work with the State House and make sure we can persuade them that we're worth investing in and that we can have a bridge year to really sort out things and make sure that we're in good shape for the future. So that's working well. We've been busy. I guess being chancellor means you're in meetings and on the phone all the time, or maybe it's just at this particular time. But I've been in close contact with the president and with our team here. The finance folk have been working with the state treasurer's office. They've also put together information to submit to the joint fiscal office and the appropriations chairs regarding a request for reimbursement for funding from COVID-19 expenses, primarily room and board. So we're hopeful that that will be approved, and that would certainly give us a welcome dollop of money right away so that we have the money to cover the payments that we'll be making in June on that. So that would certainly be helpful for us to receive. The colleges are working hard. I know they're going to be talking, the presidents will be talking to you more on Monday about the different things that have been happening there. But just as a preview, I know both NVU and VTC are creating task forces to work on what the future will look like. VTC's group is already up and running. They're called the TAT, the transition. I have it written down here somewhere. No, I don't. Anyway, it's called the TAT, and they're meeting on Friday for their first meeting, and they have a cross-section of students and faculty. Thank you, Pat. TAT. But they're going to be getting together, so they've got a cross-selection of folks participating in that, and then NVU is moving forward with their advisory team, and they're accepting nominations through tomorrow at 5 p.m. So if anyone is watching and is interested in participating in that, they still have time to put in a nomination for themselves for their advisory group. So there's a lot of stuff happening on the campuses. There's a lot of energy that was obviously generated over the past few weeks, and I think the campuses are working hard to harness that energy in a productive way, moving forward. So I'm encouraged by that. We had our meeting with the students. So Izzy, Dylan, and I just met this afternoon with a group of students. It was great. It was very positive and energizing. They had some great ideas and thoughts. And, if they're interested in doing it, we'd be happy to do that again in a couple of weeks with them and encourage them to, if there were other trustees or people they wanted to have invited to that forum, to let us know, and we would try and work something out to do that. But they had some excellent points. The one in particular was really about we need to be doing a much better job on social media, that we really need to be reaching out to students in the way that they expect to be contacted, and we need to up our game on the social media front, which I have no expertise on other than when my kids tell me about it. So that's something that I think was important and valuable, and they were very passionate about it. I think that we've got a lot of people that would be more than happy to pitch in and help with that. So that was great. So it was, I don't know about Dylan and Izzy, but I really appreciate them joining me. But I thought it was a wonderful chance, and the students were super engaged, asked great questions, and we need to do a better job in making sure that the student newspapers know what's going on. They get copies of press releases and things like that. So we need to make sure we're doing a better job on communicating out with the students. They certainly had interest in how they could communicate more with the board. We encourage them to come to board meetings and things, but also reminded them about the student trustee position, which applications are due until I think it's May 15th. So encouraging students to think about running for that as well. The other things just to put, and we'll get more into this, I think probably on the board meeting next week, but there are some big things happening at the national level. The main one is the Title IX regulations that we've been expecting for months and months and months were released this morning. 2,000 pages of preamble with 33 pages of regulations, and the expectation is we will redesign all our procedures and policies and have those in place by August 14th, which is a tremendous lift and is going to be extremely challenging, and will require board approval, obviously, of any policies that come out of that. So I just put that out there as that's a big project that we're going to have to undertake in a very short time period. Normally we have 8-9 months to do it in. That was true under the Obama administration. This is a very tight timeline, and my understanding is that's driven by interest in getting them up and running before the presidential election in the fall. So I don't think the administration is going to change its mind at the federal level in terms of delaying that. So we have to be prepared to do it. The other piece I wanted to let you know about was there's been an uptick in planning around COVID-19 and returning to campuses in the fall. I think there's a recognition that we're getting ready to import tens of thousands of students in September, and maybe we need to have some plans around that. So our deans of students have really stepped up and are participating in weekly calls with the Department of Health, and they will be working with Rich Snyder, who's the former president of Norwich, who's putting together, he has a task force he's putting together to try to come up with planning for the education sector. So they're trying to come up with a plan for all colleges and universities in the state. But our representatives are part of that and will be involved in that, and that's obviously going to be important work that needs to get done, and there's a lot of complexity to that, and just even listening to some of the calls I've been sitting in on and realizing just how challenging that is. But that's another big project that we have coming up. So I think that's it. I'm welcome if people have any questions or anything else. I'm happy to answer them, but that's in terms of a status report or whatever, that's what I have for week one.
Thank you, Sophie. Thoughts and questions from the board?
Hey, Church.
Yes, Michael.
Sophie, I don't have a question, but just a comment. I just appreciate the update and appreciate you keeping the board up to date as well. I think you hit on today a lot of important things that we've been wanting to move our focus on, and looking forward to how do we secure the financing we need for a bridge loan? How do we start preparing to reopen our campuses in the fall? All really critical things that need a lot of time and attention. I'm just glad that we're able to start focusing on those, and that you're really making those a priority and doing a great job in the process. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Welcome. Thanks.
As Sophie indicated, it's been a busy time with the General Assembly, and I wonder whether Bill, Dylan, Lynn, or Jim have anything that you might want to share. It's an unusual time to have the Vermont State Colleges front and center in the limelight, or however you want to describe it. What's the tone over there?
Well, I'll speak up for a moment, and Dylan and Jim and Lynn chime in. You should know that there are initiatives being taken in the legislature and in different parts of the state, initiated by legislators around the state college system. It was announced today that there's going to be a meeting with the Windsor County delegation. I believe President Moulton's going to be part of that. There's also been, and I'm not sure what the official name is, but there's basically been a process by which legislators many of whom are reaching out to their constituents with a form that was a Google form saying, if you have ideas how to help the Vermont State College system move forward, please have people fill out this form or fill out the form based on a conversation. And those ideas are being gathered and collated. I am interested, and I don't know what connection has been made directly to this chancellor's office or to the board at this point, but I know that there are a number of ideas that are being put forward through that format. And I think it's important to connect those folks who have expressed interest via that with our own official process. But there's a great deal of interest.
Thank you, Bill. Jim?
Yeah, Bill's correct. There are a number of ongoing efforts. I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if some of the suggestions are similar to the ones that came up during when we were working on the white paper. And I'm sure there'll be some very good ideas. My concern at the moment that these different efforts don't get tangled up around each other. But we'll just have to see how this works out. As for what's going on in the legislature, most of us have been unemployment all day, all the time. And so people are very concerned about the VSC and everybody wants to help. But as to how we're occupying our time, hour by hour, it's helping with people with unemployment claims.
Thousands of which are not being fully responded to yet, which is very frustrating for everyone involved.
10,000.
10,000.
I would just add that I just posted a link in the chat. The Speaker of the House, in collecting the ideas that Bill referred to, has begun posting them publicly with the disclaimer, just to clarify, these aren't ideas that have been endorsed. They've just come to legislators through the form. So there is a venue convened by, in this case, the Leader of the House for those ideas. And I would just say that, I think it's been helpful here over the last week to get feedback from legislative colleagues. I'm still hearing it, and people still have a lot of ideas, a lot of enthusiasm. I was invited last week by some members of the delegation in the surrounding communities of NVU Johnson to a meeting about brainstorming ideas with their constituents, and I attended because they invited me, and I listened in to that. So there are a lot of individual efforts. So I assume those will go forward. But I also just want to take a moment here to just say I really appreciate the information we've been provided by Sophie, because it really helps me understand where things stand on this side as well. So I'm appreciative. It appears we have a good two-way line of communication going, and I assume legislative leaders will be appreciative of that going forward.
Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, I agree with Dylan, and I agree with the others who have spoken. I read the suggestions in it's an idea. It's an idea. I don't know what you call it, but it's an idea
bank, I think they're referring to it as.
Idea bank, that's what it's called. They had a name for it. Anyway, Lucy Rogers, I think, was very crucial in getting this started, but she's worked, there's a lot of people who've put things into it. It takes a while to read through all of them. And Jim is right, some of them are things that we would be we're familiar with. And some of them are all new. And, but there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of feedback. I do hear from people. It's from lots of people who are probably talking to other people as well, but suggestions as to what we can do and why don't we do this and why don't we do that. And I would say that there's a real interest. I'm really glad to see that Sophie and the leadership have put together some kind of an agreement or have had that communication. And, that's a really good first step.
I've been encouraging Sophie to come up with a clever name for her newsletter. Maybe she'll take suggestions as to what might be catchy.
If anyone has any, they're welcome to send them to me.
Any other thoughts or comments or conversation with our new chancellor?
Church,
Yes.
this is Linda. I just want to say the communications and the efforts that Sophie has communicated with us over the past week strike me as sort of proving out that enthusiasm that she said for the job. So I really appreciated seeing that. Thanks for your efforts, Sophie.
And we also note what hour they tend to be coming across.
Yeah.
Okay. Izzy.
I just wanted to thank Sophie and Dylan for joining the students, the student leaders and their students at large. Just to hear their voices. We had, like Sophie said, a really great Q&A today. And for all the students watching, I encourage everyone who has a question for Sophie to reach out to me to be a part of the next Q&A. And they're very beneficial, and I loved having all the students there today.
That's great.
Thank you, Izzy, and appreciate all the work that you did to make that possible. Okay, this is something of a transitional meeting from the flurry of meetings we've had over the last couple of weeks, getting kind of transitioning back to the usual rhythm for this board, where a lot of the work and discussion occurs at the committee level, and then are brought to the board for further discussion and action. We have major issues to deal with, and we're anticipating that Monday we're going to spend the entire time focusing on the issues at hand, getting updates about where we are from a number of different perspectives. We'll talk a little more about that before we close this evening. And we are also anticipating looking ahead to all four committees, including audit, which is currently not scheduled for June 1st, but recommending that audit as well as finance, EPSL, and long-range planning all anticipate meeting on the 1st of June. And we'll have to schedule that day in such a way that we're not rushing through committees, being sure that committees have sufficient time, because it's been a little while since some of the committees have met. But for this evening, other than having an initial chat with Sophie, we did have one carryover action item from last week that is agended as the discussion and appointment of a interim president for Castleton University. I'd like to get some sense of the board as to whether they are prepared to discuss and take action on that this evening in public session, or would anyone feel that we need to take advantage of the rules that allow some personnel related discussions to take place in executive session. If I could just get some sense as to whether anyone feels that that is something that you would be interested in having us do, and we certainly would. Otherwise, we'll continue in public session. Jim?
Yeah, thank you, Church. As I believe you know, the legislative trustees were contacted by Bob Helm, longtime representative from over in the Castleton area, that wanted us to discuss with Karen the possibility of her continuing. I know there's strong sentiment in that community over there about that, and this might be something that we ought to talk about in executive session. It's a personnel issue. The issue's been brought to the legislative trustees' attention, and I think at least we should bring it up at the board. Today's a good day to do it, I suppose. And so if someone is prepared to read the appropriate words about going into an executive session either soon or in a few minutes, I think that would be something we ought to do.
Okay.
Although it doesn't have to be right now. If
No,
there
no,
are-
no, I'm just trying to recall the parliamentary procedure. Do we go into executive session through, yes, we have to take a motion and then vote on it.
Correct.
Any other thoughts
Correct.
before? I think Lynn is the keeper of those motions.
I see
Any other
Representative
thoughts?
Flory has her hand.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay, I share Jim's thoughts, and I guess I have one question, and because I was not here at the last part of the last meeting, I didn't know what the result was, but I went through reading our bylaws and the trustees' guides, etc. And a couple of interesting things came up. And my question is, has the board formally accepted any resignation? Did they do that at last week's meeting? And I mean, I have a couple of questions on this, and some of them may be more appropriate to address Monday. But in trying to look at the minutes of the past meetings, we haven't got any minutes of our meetings for the last 5 meetings. Executive committee, it's been the last 8 meetings. So it's a little difficult to know what is of record. But I've also, as a Rutland resident, received a number of questions as to Karen's position right now. And I guess part of my issue as a trustee, and again, because there's no copy of minutes, I don't know what's recorded. But in reading our bylaws, the Board of Trustees is the one that approves presidency. My understanding is Karen withdrew because she was told someone else was going to be president. Unless she was told that by the Board of Trustees after action by the Board of Trustees, I don't know that it's valid. So I guess my question is, should she be approached again? Does she know that the Board of Trustees never voted to remove her as president? I don't know that. And it's not public record. It's not in any minutes. It's just what most of us have read or seen on the news.
Mr. Chair, if I may for a moment.
I hear the voice. Yes, Todd.
Yeah, sorry, this is Todd. I believe all the minutes actually have been posted on the VSC website. I was just confirming that with Jen Porrier, that the last several sets of minutes, including last week's minutes, are all available on our public website. So I'm happy to help Trustee Flory find those. I might also just suggest to the chair that a conversation of this nature would be appropriate for executive session, recognizing that it is ultimately up to the board whether to take that step.
I'm seeing nodding heads, and I think that we should go into executive session. But Peg, you have a point?
And Church, I have no problem going into executive session, but as of 35 minutes ago, on the various websites I looked, it all said unapproved minutes since 3:12 for our board, 11:02 for the executive board.
Right. And
That's absolutely correct.
Right. And part of
Okay.
getting back.
So I'm not
to-
nuts. Thank you.
Okay.
On that point, anyway.
No, and as I mentioned
You're
earlier,
not
getting
nuts.
back.
I was going to say that's one of the pieces of business that needs to get addressed on Mondays. At Monday's meeting is the approval of all the minutes. So you're correct. They're posted, but they're unapproved. Right. That's part of the plan for Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Peg. Thank you, Todd. Lynn, I think it's appropriate that we put a motion on the table for executive session, please.
Okay. I move the VSC Board of Trustees enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313, subsection A1F, for the purpose of receiving confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services. Because premature general public knowledge of these discussions would place VSC at a substantial disadvantage, it is appropriate for the committee to enter executive session. I further move the board enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313, subsection A3, to discuss the employment of a public officer. The board shall make a final decision. I'm not sure if this is the right one, but whether we'll be making a final decision or not. It does not anticipate making a final decision regarding any such public officer in an open meeting. I'm using old ones, so I'm not sure if I got the right thing here. But we may or may not do a decision on an open meeting and shall explain the reasons during the open meeting when we do. The board does not anticipate taking any action during executive session, along with the members of the board present at this meeting and its discretion. The board invites the Chancellor, the VSC General Counsel, and the VSC Associate General Counsel to attend portions of this meeting. So moved.
I just need to talk to Todd. I think Lynn was looking at an older version
I'm
of
looking at an old one.
the resolution. And I think the intent was to also ask the president of Castleton University to attend with us. I'm looking at you, Todd.
I believe the intent was to invite the interim chancellor, the president of Castleton University, the interim provost of Castleton University, and the interim general counsel.
Okay.
Yes, all of those people.
Okay.
I'll
I
amend the
think
motion.
we understand the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes. Yeah, all those in favor of going into executive session, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We are going to go into executive session. And again, we will not be making any decisions in executive session. Anything that we decide, we will decide when we come back into public session. The trustees are now going to disconnect from this particular Zoom address and go to another, but we will be returning to this same place. Okay, good evening, everyone. We have returned from executive session, and I appreciate everyone's patience in terms of waiting for us. I'd like to share that the long time spent was to assure that the board had a thorough and complete discussion of the matters related to the transition in leadership at Castleton University. We owed that to everyone. And so we have been deeply engaged, and I regret that it's taken so long into the evening. And I want to say that although the board had not previously dealt with the question of Dr. Scolforo's position as Castleton's president, we do understand the position recent events have put her in, and we therefore accept with regret her decision to resign. We truly appreciate all she has done during her tenure at Castleton, and I know that we are not alone in wishing her nothing but the very best going forward. Thank you, Karen. We now return to our published agenda, and including a board action regarding Castleton interim president, and I believe we have a resolution to present for consideration. Trustee Dickinson.
Yes, there is a resolution, appointment of, no. I have a motion. I have a motion, I have two motions and a resolution.
Okay. And we'll take these up separately.
Do you want the first motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. I move that the Vermont State College System Board of Trustees accept the resignation of Castleton University President Karen Scolforo effective May 31st, 2020.
Is that the, I just want to be sure we heard every word, Lynn.
I move that the Vermont State College System Board of Trustees accepts the resignation of Castleton University President Karen Scolfaro effective May 31, 2020.
Okay, is there a second?
Sure, Jim.
Second with Jim Maislin. Discussion on the resolution, on the motion, please.
Church.
Trustee Michael, go ahead.
Just to reiterate your point that you made when you opened the session to thank Karen for her service at Castleton University. We'll certainly miss her on the board, and certainly I know Castleton will miss her as a community. So thank you, Karen, for your leadership and your service to Vermont and your service to Castleton. And with regret, I know the board makes this decision. Thank you.
And Karen, when we were together as a board last time, I told the world how I felt about you, and I just want you to know I meant every word.
Thank you, Church.
Is there further discussion? Izzy.
I just want to say, and I think I stand with a lot of the Castleton community, we will miss you, and we really do support everything that you have done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Izzy.
Seeing no hands, all those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? Oh hum, we have accepted the resolution is passed and it's now official. Trustee Dickinson, I believe you have a second motion.
I have a resolution and a motion.
Please proceed.
And which one do you want? Well, I'll do the resolution first.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay. This is for the resolution from the Board of Trustees, the appointment of Jonathan Spiro as interim president of Castleton University, whereas the Vermont State College System Board of Trustees is responsible under 16 VSA Section 2174 and under Article 5, Section 1 of the Vermont State College System bylaws for the appointment of the Vermont State College System presidents. And whereas President of Castleton University, Karen Scolfaro, has announced her intention to step down effective May 31, 2020. And whereas the board intends to search for a successor president over the coming months. And whereas President Scolfaro, the interim chancellor, and the chair of the board recommended the vacancy created by President Scolfaro's departure be filled by Castleton interim provost and dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Jonathan Spiro. Therefore, be it resolved that Jonathan Spiro be appointed as interim president of Castleton University with all the associated authority and responsibility of the office of president, effective June 1, 2020, and will serve with the board until the board appoints a successor. We also have a motion. The appointment of the interim president of Castleton University. I move that the board adopt the resolution as read, appointing Castleton interim provost and dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Jonathan Spiro, to serve as interim president of the university effective June 1, 2020, until a successor president can be selected. The board believes Dean Spiro is the best person to lead the university when President Scolfaro steps down.
That's a
Second.
motion and a resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, please.
Thank you, Jonathan, for stepping up.
A lot of nodding heads, Jonathan.
Thank you, David.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the resolution and motion as presented, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations, Jonathan, and we look forward to working with you. And again, as many know, Jonathan is a very familiar face with this board, a very trusted individual. And I think that if he gets nicked, he bleeds Castleton green, and all of those qualifications.
43 Pantone, right?
I think that's his blood type. And no, we look forward to working with you and seeing where this all brings us. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I just want to add, Jonathan, I'm looking forward to working with you too. And I did share with the Board of Trustees, we did receive an email from Andre Flash, who's president of the Faculty Assembly. And when he listed out the things that the Faculty Assembly were looking for in terms of an interim president, they didn't use your name, but it seemed like they were describing you in detail. And I believe that you will fulfill all the things that they were looking for in an interim president. So I'm welcome aboard, and I'm really glad that you're willing to take on the job. So thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Zadotny. I appreciate that.
In light of the hour and the fact that we are meeting again on Monday, we're going to defer the remaining items on our agenda until Monday. We will engage in public comment for a brief period of time. I think Yasmin are you going to put up the information, Yasmin, or has it already been done?
No, so I'm just putting it
Okay.
now. Oops, I apologize. I have the wrong thing.
And again, the hour is late, so I'm going to ask members of the press to defer using this method for speaking with us and to follow your usual channels, and that we hear from the public. It's 9:10 now. Let's see if for about 10 minutes. Yasmin, you can structure this any way you would like. And again, encourage people who wish to speak, especially provide us with any feedback relevant to this evening's work. I'd appreciate that very much. And Yasmin, I'm going to turn things over to you as you do so well to coordinate this.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, we don't have anyone who has signed up on the link. We're asking people to please go to the website listed on your screen. However, I do see one person, Janet Curry, has raised her hand. So Janet, if you did indeed wish to make a public comment, we will hear from you now.
Welcome, Janet.
Hi, thank you for, I know it's very late, and I'm just going to make this very quick. I'm chair of the Planning Commission for the town of Castleton. And I'm going to probably be attending these meetings from this point forward. I think it's important that the town has some say in what's going on, and I wish I had attended in past meetings. It's extremely important that the Castleton University and the town of Castleton work together. It was something that was not happening prior to President Scolforo's hiring. So I hope to see all of you next Monday, and I want to be included in everything. And I hope you understand why I am making these comments.
Thank you, Janet. Our host communities who put up with everything that we seem to do as colleges and universities are among our most important constituencies, and we would certainly welcome you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do now have 2 additional people who wish to speak. Next up is Daniel Acorn, followed by Keith Whitcomb.
Thank you. Good evening.
Daniel Acorn. So he does not appear to be here. Keith Whitcomb is next. Keith. Keith, you are unmuted if you would like to make a comment. Keith, so Keith is here in the Zoom session. He is unmuted, but if you're not able to, we can't hear you at the moment. We do have a place on our website for people to submit written comments. And that is it for people who have requested to speak.
Thank you, Yasmin. Then we would go to our final item on the agenda today would be other business. Is there other business to come before the board? Seeing none, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Again, to everyone, I apologize for the length of time that we were not with you in public session, but I hope you all appreciate that we owe every party involved time and attention. And we were happy to do that this evening. And you've seen the way our conclusions have been made. So thank you one and all, and welcome everyone back on Monday at 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Church.
You bet. Good night, all.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.